and then all I hear about is Olympic pay is shit. So
it doesn't pay great. I might get these numbers wrong, but for a gold medal, you get like $37,500. For silver, it's like $22,000, and a bronze is $15,000. My freshman year, I was like, I want to make the Olympics, and he's like, okay, perfect. I'll support you all the way. Here's exactly what you have to do. When I was younger, when I junior rodeoed, I rode steers.
Yeah, you did. I was about to say.
Yeah.
You look like you.
Yeah, I was in Germany competing. I was in the high bar final, and on my dismount, when I kicked up, my left hand just kind of slipped off the bar. It was a fluke accident, but I did this weird double backflip in the air with a half twist, and landed pretty much all on my right leg, and it went that way. God, I don't know why this just happened to me or what you've got planned, but I'm just going to trust you with it. And immediately I felt peace about it. So I would say the Olympic Village is a lot like a college campus. You're just, walking around and there's just Olympians all around you, these big names.
Did you see LeBron?
We were just like on our balcony looking down, and we're like, oh my gosh, it's LeBron.
It's crazy. Just an
Olympian.
Saying that about LeBron.
That's crazy.
You're on pommel horse.
Uh-huh.
This is your last time you're going to go for the whole entire Olympics.
Yep.
The country is like not on your back, but it's on 3 guys' backs for this event, for this medal. What is going through your mind as you're about to just hop on this pommel horse?
I mean, the same thing that's going through my mind at any competition. I think it's...
Welcome back to the podcast. We just had a killer interview.
The podcast. What you talking about?
What you talking about?
So Let's Freakin Rodeo podcast. Cannot wait to hear from you guys in the comments. Remember, our rodeo people, our loyal fans, comments, bop, 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 boost the algorithm.
Okay. Bop, 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 bop. You made that
I'm
up
loving it.
on the fly. I was trying to think of what that was from McDonald's. That's
Dude,
what it is.
Boost the algorithm. More people see. We bring you core shit. Come on.
Likes, subscribes. Every podcast you hear, they always say it. So we got to say it. Okay? We're
It's the
podcasters
truth.
now. That's what we do.
It's the truth. Our rodeo fans sometimes aren't the most avid YouTube users.
Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes.
Du-du-du-du-du.
While we're at it too, shout out everyone who's listening on audio. Oftentimes we reference if you're watching. We see y'all on audio too.
The
We hear y'all.
the audio is going crazy.
Going crazy.
Thankful for each and every one of you. Can't wait for the future. What's this? The 8th podcast coming out this week? Episode number 8.
Well, no. By the time we don't know.
No.
We don't know when this one's coming out. This is in the vault. This is in the vault.
This vault. It's kind of like the cloud. It's a little bit.
It's in the cloud.
Yeah.
We just have it in our back pocket. Ambiguous. Tonight, the day we're recording this, is actually Thursday, December 5th. Ty,
First go
you
round.
have a big night tonight.
Be a good time to make that trip to that old South Point.
I'm kind of curious. Get the people, let them into your mind a little bit, okay? Picture, what does your day look like? How are you feeling mentally? What are you thinking? What do you got to go do to just go blast?
I feel great. I need to draw a good calf, but this set tonight is really, really, really good. Lana Mangold, Jeff Yates brought 3 sets of calves, small, medium, and big on the size. The medium set that we're opening tonight is unbelievable. So I'm going to say you're going to see some really, really fast times this week. These 2 weeks, can't wait. The calf rub's going to be electric. Yeah. So
By the time they watch this podcast, they'll probably already know how you've done.
yeah, hopefully great.
So tell yourself a message to the fufuture.
Do good. Be thankful for every part of the journey, and give all the glory to God. So I'll tell you, my mom always says, remember your 2 things. Remember your 2 things.
Okay.
Have fun, glorify God.
Amen.
So I got about 10 hours of sleep last night. Rubbed the calves at 8 a.m. Brody Malone podcast, which is what we're here to talk about.
Yep.
About 10:15 after we got rolling, and I got to go to a lunch with Choctaw.
Yep.
Go meet with Miss Erica, Cody Webster, Jake Smith. Have a lunch with them, and then the rodeo starts at 6:00. So,
yeah, and then most days you'll be signing and stuff, and it's fun. How are you mentally? Do you feel ready to go?
I feel ready to go. Yeah.
Nervous? Jitters?
Not
calm?
yet. I'll get excited. I think.
Excited.
I think I'll get excited when the rodeo starts. But
Because you just been working out here.
I've been working. I've been running them, practicing a lot. So yeah, I feel extremely ready. Had a badass chiropractor appointment last night. I mean, from my tailbone to the top of my neck, cracked. Pop, 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 pop. and
You like that McDonald's theme, right?
shit, yeah, dude, I laid there like, ooh, it was
Just like
insane,
that.
bro. It was insane.
I
Like
imagine.
my pupils were extremely dilated from how crazy it was.
I wish I would have gone.
Yeah,
You need to start-
$160.
Did it
Way worth
You
it.
should have got it half off on the second one for me.
Way worth
Wasn't
it.
the guy? I mean, he flew in yesterday, flew out last night. He was here for 24 hours or 12 hours.
Yeah, like he's worked on John Jones, like he does a lot of the UFC guys. He's real deal.
Okay, so y'all are here for the Brody Malone podcast. Absolute dog, Olympian, bronze medal winner with Team USA. Ty, as of right now, you know, you're getting ready for round one of the NFR. What are some things that you just, after interviewing him, you're like,
Talking to Brody Malone was so inspiring because of what he's had to go through, the injury, coming back from that in such a short period of time, not knowing if he was going to be able to compete for the Olympics. But also, man, it makes you kind of feel for the guy because you like rodeo guys. I think sometimes we feel sorry for ourselves, all the miles and all this and that, you know, and it's a hard life. It's tough. It's a grind. But those guys, what they do, they get to compete every 4 years.
Mhm.
Yes, they have world championships and nationals and tournament, but realistically, his lifelong goal was to compete in the Olympics.
yep,
And he's worked for 20 years and gotten to compete in 2. And he's 24 years old, and he doesn't know if he can put in another 4 years of training on his knee and on his body, and
yep.
is able to do that to compete in 2028. So I'm just thankful that no matter what happens these 10 days, in January I'll be at Denver, and Lord willing, you know, unless I have something crazy, catastrophic happen, but I'll be able to have the NFR next year if I qualify. You know, every month and every day, you know, there's something. I don't know. It's just I'm just thankful.
You gotta
for
love talking to people who he went through. We saw the pictures of it, terrifying knee injuries. When you listen to a guy talk like that, you just want to go harder.
You just want to go harder.
You can work harder. You can go harder. You can
For
stay
sure.
in that sauna 10 minutes longer. You can tie 2-3 more calves in practice. You know what I'm saying?
Tonight, in one round, in 8 seconds, I'm competing for $33,000. Gold medal, what do you say, $37,500 for a
Yes.
gold medal?
Yes,
Is what it pays. And
insane.
they train 4 years. I'm going to get to rope 10 nights in a row for $33,000.
You can
Once
make the
again,
same
thank you to
money,
Cowboy
yep.
Channel. Thank you to Teton. Thank you to everybody coming into the Western industry and growing it. And can't wait for the future. I keep saying it. It's so true. Where rodeo's headed. We're extremely thankful. But that dude is a grinder, and he might be able to train 4 more years to possibly win $37,000 to be the greatest gymnast in the world, a gold medalist. Yeah.
And you get to rope that.
For
For
I
that
get to
money
rope for
every
that
night.
10 nights in a row. What a
What a
blessing.
life.
Thankful, inspired, excited. Wow.
Man, and I also want to know, because we're going to get on the podcast soon, but just to set it up for y'all, because he talks so much mental, and this is a Let's Freakin' Rodeo podcast. There's so much things, athletes, but just stories, okay? But Ty Harris, you're sitting in there. We heard Brody Malone talk about the last event he did. Only 3 guys went on the pommel horse, and he was the second to the last guy. High pressure, high stakes. Okay, remembering what he said, because they're about to see it, and then thinking about you tonight are going to go in that box.
Hey.
Hey. And then predict the feeling. What is that going to feel like?
I think there's been a lot of uncertainty the last couple years at the finals, whether it was this or that or whatever bullshit was going on, honestly. But tonight it's going to be pretty clear and pretty straightforward. When I'm back in there and I take that deep breath and I'm about to nod my head, I'm going to tie this gaff as fast as I possibly can to have fun. No bars, nothing holding me back. I promise you I'm giving it all I got. And yeah, I think it's going to be very good.
We're here for the Brody Malone podcast, but it can't help you just get you fired up, motivation. We give God the glory here, and we're ready to rodeo. I guess we're ready to get into this interview. Y'all been waiting a little bit, hearing us ramble, hearing us talk. We're talking about Ty, but you cannot help but get fired up after listening to this interview, and I'm sure whatever y'all are doing in y'all's life, you're going to hear Brody Malone talk, and you'll be dialed.
Sure.
So I guess without further ado, we should let him get into this podcast. Quit rambling.
Thanks for listening. You brought the medal.
No, we did not.
Yes, sir. Look at that thing.
No way, bro.
That thing is heavy, dude.
Yeah, you can hurt somebody with that.
Wow.
I got phone. Take a picture of that, man. If you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
That's pretty cool right there, dude.
Next to the man. Look at this, bro. Look at that. Dude, that is crazy.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome, man. Wow. All right. I told him I was trying not to talk too much on the way over here because save it for the camera, so.
Oh, y'all were y'all together?
Well, yeah, we went to the front and got him or whatever.
I got you. Yeah, man. Well, I'll be honest. I wish I could say we were used to these high stakes right here, but we got some cameras back here. We got an Olympic bronze medalist here with us too. It's a pretty big deal. So, welcome back to the Let's Freakin' Rodeo podcast. Today is a crazy day.
Pretty crazy day. Opening day of the NFR.
Of the NFR, yep.
Been here for 4 days, been waiting, and ready for it to get started. We get to meet Brody Malone, heard a lot about him, been watching. Whole family was cheering him on. Good God-fearing man, and just so happens to be a badass gymnast. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm thinking of the YouTube title right here. Olympic bronze medalist, crossover rodeo, something like that. So let's just jump in the deep end.
All right, let's do it.
How does one go from rodeo roots to Olympic stage? Like, what is that journey?
Yeah, that's the question right there, isn't it?
I know.
So yeah, my dad rodeoed in college, and my mom rode equestrian, so that's kind of how they met. And so I mean, ever since I can remember, I grew up on a horse. My dad taught me and my siblings to rope at a young age, and grew up junior rodeoing, and junior high and high school rodeoed a little bit. And I mean, somewhere along the way, I kind of had to put that to the side and focus on gymnastics a little bit because I got a little bit more serious. But yeah, I grew up in the world. My brother still rodeos a bunch. I think he's actually headed to rodeo this weekend. So yeah.
Jeez.
How old is he?
He's 22.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
I'm 24.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
So, how old were you when you decided, when you knew that you were going to try to do everything you could to be where you're at in gymnastics?
Yeah. So, God, I was probably, I like to say I was 15, when I, really decided that I wanted to go to the Olympics. I'd say at the time I didn't really understand what all that fully, meant, but but I mean, before that, I grew up watching the Olympics, and I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that one day. But when I was 15, that was the year I made my first junior national team, and that was a huge accomplishment for me, and it was a really good motivator, and it really motivated me to work hard to continue to make national team and progress throughout the stages to make the Olympics.
Gotcha.
And so are you rodeoing this whole time, and then when you're about 15, you're like, yo, we gotta put this saddles in the tag room, and we gotta grind at this.
Yeah, I think that's about the time I stopped, going to junior rodeos and junior high rodeos and stuff.
Which event did you do?
Oh, I did.
I
team roped, rope calves. When I was younger, when I junior rodeoed, I rode steers.
Yeah, you did. I was about to say. Yeah. You look like a gymnast. It is tracks. Balance, technique. It's got to be bad checks.
I love doing that, but. There was one junior rodeo I went to that I got threw off, and he stepped on my foot, and we're afraid I broke my foot. And my dad was like, "Okay, it ain't worth it. You're a gymnast."
Yeah.
So I had to stop doing that and just stuck to the roping side of things. So
golly. So we go. Okay, so the narrative is 15. Kind of start making that change.
Mm-hmm.
Senior year of high school, and then obviously you went to college. Where did you go into a premier gymnastics school, like in college competing?
Yeah. So,
Stanford, right?
Stanford. Yeah. I went to Stanford. I'm from Georgia, so it was a very big cultural change for sure. It was a culture shock, definitely.
What do they think about that accent?
Yeah, I was about to say that.
I think it was a little hard for them to understand at first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a big culture shock coming from a very rural area in Georgia, and growing up with the background that I have. It's very different than what a lot of people out there grew up doing. So it was very different, but I enjoyed it. I embraced the change, and the gymnastics team out there was phenomenal. I mean, those guys became my brothers. They're truly my family. That's how I think of them. So I really enjoyed my time out there, and that was a very critical part of my gymnastics career. I would say that was definitely the time where I got really serious about gymnastics and was able to make my first Olympic team.
What was you say that's where it got serious. Well, why? Is there a moment? Is there
Yeah, so I would say my freshman year. I mean, I went into Stanford knowing that I wanted to pursue, making the Olympic team. But I mean, there's a big difference between doing gymnastics at a club level in high school versus going to a college level. Huge difference. I mean, just the training plan was very different. Having to balance school with gym and then, a social life outside of that. So just learning how to adapt to those things and how to train properly and, do everything I could in the gym the right way to be able to make an Olympic team. That's pretty much what it took. And, going from high school to go into college with a team of 20 guys that all have similar goals and they're all really good. So, I mean, if you want to be the best at something, you surround yourself with people who are better than you, right? And that's what college was for me. So it was really, it motivated me a lot and it pushed me to work really hard. And I would also say my coach as well. I mean, I went to him at the beginning of my freshman year and I was like, I want to make the Olympics. And he's like, okay, perfect. I'll support you all the way. Here's exactly what you have to do. And he laid it out for me. And I will say it was a struggle at first, getting used to all that stuff. But having him guide me through that, and then, with the support of my teammates and other coaches and stuff, it just made it all possible.
So tell me about like the Olympic trials and stuff. I mean, my knowledge is none. So like, how you said your goal was to make the Olympics. So obviously, you had to put the work in every day in and day out to make that process. But then when it was time to qualify, how did that happen? What do you have to do?
Yeah. So for disqualifications, we had actually 4 competitions. It was really 2 competitions. We had our USA Championships and then our Olympic trials. So Olympic trials wasn't the only meet that we had to compete at to make the team. But so we had USA's Olympic trials, and each of those had 2 competitions, day 1, day 2. So basically what we did was we took our performances from each of those 4 days of competition, and the selection procedures, which is something that we kind of came together as a national team and decided on, was we were going to take our top 3 scores from those 4 competitions and basically run them through a computer program, and it spits out the top team scoring scenario. So that was how the Olympic team got picked.
Wow. So you got picked by an algorithm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it seems like not even real. Like that doesn't even seem real.
I mean, the way we were looking at it is it was the most fair way to do it, because I mean, when you've got
so many
people like
people
handpicking things, you can get
politics or anything like that.
Yeah, the politics, the bias stays out of it as much as possible. I mean, there were scenarios that, I mean, we would have brought, discretionary criteria in to pick guys, but for the most part, we wanted to keep it as fair as possible, and that was just, using the numbers straight up.
I kind of pictured like Rocky Balboa's boxing coach back there just having his prize fighters, just like, and then he's like, Brody, you're in.
Yeah.
But,
so did y'all take, you had your, personal coach that you have to train you through that, or what did you do? So you said you were at Stanford. When did you graduate?
So I graduated last year. When was it? Oh gosh, summer 2023. And then after that, I ended up, so I had a pretty devastating knee injury. I was competing at a competition in Germany in March of last year. And, one thing led to another, and I ended up making the decision to move to Florida. There was a new gym that opened up down there, Evo Gymnastics. And they had just brought in the national team trainer / physical therapist. He's a PT, AT. He just moved down there to be like their full-time athletic trainer. And at the time, because I was graduated from Stanford, it was going to be a little bit harder to get, the medical care necessary with my knee injury. It wouldn't have been impossible, but it would have just been a lot easier in Florida. So it was a really hard decision to make, but I ended up moving down there to Sarasota and, did most of my rehab there and, made my comeback. So
what was the knee injury?
Oh man. So yeah, I was in Germany competing. I was in the high bar final. And on my dismount, when I kicked up, my left hand just kind of slipped off the bar. It was a fluke accident. But I did this weird double backflip in the air with a half twist and, landed pretty much all on my right leg, and it went that way. It was pretty bad. So I fractured my tibial plateau, torn medial meniscus, partially torn PCL, torn LCL, and torn posterior lateral corner, which is the back part of your hamstring. So
Shit.
yeah.
So no surgery?
Oh, I had 3 surgeries.
3 surgeries.
3 surgeries, yes, sir.
for the tibia.
Yeah, so when I was in Germany, I had my first surgery, and it wasn't a reconstructive surgery. It was basically they called it an external fixator. So they put 2 rods in my shin bone and 2 rods in my femur, and they were sticking out of my leg, and they were connected by a bunch of metal. I'll show you the picture. It's pretty gnarly.
How do you deal with that kind of setback mentally? What is the mental strategy of dealing with the ups and the downs, being the prodigy number one when you're young, but then a year before you're about to fulfill your dream, have something you may not even know if you come back from?
Yeah, so that was definitely the struggle, and this is where my faith comes in for sure. I can remember laying there on the floor, before they even got me on the stretcher in Germany, and I was feeling all of the emotions. I'm angry. I'm surprised. I'm in pure shock. I'm in a lot of pain because my knee just broke. But I remember asking God, I was laying there. I was like, God, I don't know why this just happened to me or what you've got planned, but I'm just going to trust you with it. And immediately I felt peace about it. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know you got it. And I just felt at peace, and I was still feeling pain, obviously.
Right.
But I was like, okay, like this, whatever this is for, like, is going to be used for some reason for you. And I was like, okay, that's great. And it was definitely still a hard recovery process, but I kept going back to that peace that I initially felt, and it really helped me throughout the whole recovery.
How do you even like tap into that? Like you're saying, like it had to be, like you said, you ask God, what is this used for? But I'm saying at the same time, you're describing it like it's easy, but
it's not.
For the most part, it's never that easy as you make it seem out to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely isn't. And the verse that I kept going back to was James 1, verse 2 through 4, but I think verse 2 is, consider it a great joy, my brothers and sisters, when you experience various trials. So that was something that, a little bit after the fact, that's my dad's favorite verse, but he sent that to me, and it's really hard to wrap your mind around. Like when you're going through trials, no one likes going through trials, it sucks, but it tells us right there to consider it a great joy, consider it pure joy. So like you just have to be able to switch that around in your mind. And a lot of that is being able to put your trust in God and just letting him take care of it. Because we know we get our joy from the relationship we have with God, and we get our peace from understanding that he's going to take care of us. So that's something that I really had to tap into going through this whole thing. And it was, it was definitely hard to do at times, but man, when I was right there on the floor, holding my leg in so much pain, and I just prayed that, and I felt that peace, and I was like, everything happens for a reason. This happened, like, this is going to be used for good somehow. I don't know at the time.
Yeah.
But it's going to be used for good.
So what I think is so impressive, you see people that are really, really good at, letting God take over and trusting him and everything. And then you see people that work really hard. Obviously, you had to do both throughout all the years of training, but also this rehab process. I've had a couple injuries and stuff, and I know what that's like. It's very, very monotonous, and, so that, I don't know. I have a lot of appreciation for somebody that, puts that trust in God and lets him take over and trusts him, but also can do that work, because that is a hard, long process.
Oh, it is for sure. And it was down to the wire. Our USA Championships was, that was my first meet back doing all 6 events. Floor and vault were the big one for me. And I did, before USA Championships, I did 3 floor routines, which is not what you want to do. You want to be doing like tons of floor routines months before a competition. And it really came down to the wire. So there was it's all a God thing, because I, like, a couple months out from USA's, I was like, I really don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, but I had that peace and that comfort from God, and I was like, you know what, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to put my head down and do the work, and whatever happens is part of his plan, you know?
So when were those 2 tournaments to see if you qualified?
Oh gosh, I think they were May and June. Is that right? Very end of May and very end of June.
Also, is she a gymnast too?
She was a gymnast in high school.
Okay, I got you.
Till sophomore year. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, so USA's was at the end of May this year, and Olympic trials was end of June.
Gotcha. So 14 months after that. Mm-hmm. Also, what they do for your medial meniscus? Did they do anything, or they just...
Oh yeah, we can go back to surgery.
Sorry, I was trying to figure it out, because that's what I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, so my first surgery in Germany was the external fixator with, the metal sticking out of my leg. So they didn't reconstruct anything. That was basically to just, stabilize my knee so that I could fly home. It was really cool though, because that was my first class flight.
Yeah. It's hard to go back after that.
Yeah, right.
It'd spoil you a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a lot of pain on that, but I mean, it was still a cool experience. I got the lay flat bed, I had to stick my leg straight out. So yeah, that was cool, I guess. And then after they put that in my leg, I stayed in the hospital in Germany for a couple days until I could get up and move around on crutches. And then I flew home to Stanford. I was still at Stanford at the time, and then got my first surgery, which was to fix the tibial plateau fracture and my meniscus. And they also did they called a microfracture procedure, because I guess my cartilage was pretty torn up. So they'd basically just drill a bunch of little holes in there to stimulate growth. So that was my first one. And I got 9 screws and 2 plates in the side of my knee right here. I was kind of surprised when I saw the x-ray the first time of it. Mm-hmm. I was like, dang, they just went to Home Depot and hooked me up.
Home Depot. We're going to have to get that picture.
I know, we definitely
I'll show you all that picture. I'll get it to you.
That's a real too right there.
Yeah. So yeah, we had that first surgery. I was on crutches for 6 weeks. That was the hardest surgery for sure, because I was stuck in the bed, and the only time I could really get up was to go to the bathroom, and because it was just so painful. I think my dad stayed out there with me for a week initially, and then my now fiance, at the time she was just my girlfriend, she flew out and stayed with me for 2 weeks, and they just took care of me. Literally waited on me hand and foot, because I couldn't do nothing.
If there was a doubt, that's when he knew she was the one right there.
Yeah.
Taking care of you, bed
She's
rest.
The one. Yeah. But yeah, so crutches for 6 weeks, and then, I was starting a little bit of rehab, whatever I could do at the time. And then, so that was March was that second surgery, and then, or end of March, and then June 14th was my third and final surgery. So that was the LCL and, posterior lateral corner. So the back of the hamstring. And then 2 weeks after that, when I was cleared to fly, that's when I moved down to Florida. So, and started that chapter.
So that'd be like July 1st to win in Florida, doing all that physical therapy, trying to get ready.
July 1st through the Olympics. It never stopped. I was doing therapy the whole time.
God, 10 months.
And just to clarify, you were already selected from the algorithm?
No.
He had to qualify.
This is 2023.
Later. Okay,
I had
that's
to qualify
because the trials are right
at the end of May in 24,
okay,
right?
Okay.
End of May 24 and end of June.
I'm just getting timeline right.
Okay, so 10 months after his last surgery, he has to qualify the first tournament. That's what that's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, it was.
Hadn't qualified yet, and still had to just work and try to, wow.
Okay, the Olympics.
Yeah,
we all watch it on TV, NBC Sports. Okay.
Oh yeah.
But what is it actually like?
The Olympics?
Yes.
In what sense? What do you?
I'm talking the show. I'm talking paparazzi. I'm talking security. I'm talking chaos. I'm talking before you even get on your event.
Let's see. So I would say the Olympic Village is a lot like a college campus.
Okay.
Because I was actually surprised how much like a college campus it was. Because each country has their own building with all their suites and stuff and rooms. I think Team USA had, I have no idea how many we had, but we had way more than one building because we got a lot of athletes. But yeah, you're just walking around and there's just Olympians all around you. These big names.
Did you see LeBron?
I didn't. So they didn't stay at the Village. they stayed
Jeez.
away from Village. I saw
Of
him
course.
at I saw
It
him
makes
when they were
sense.
lining up for opening ceremonies. But we were just like on our balcony looking down, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, it's LeBron!"
It's crazy. Just an
Olympian
saying that about LeBron.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I mean, the cafeteria was interesting. So Paris was my first, I say, true Olympic experience, because I was in Tokyo as well, and I mean, that was the COVID Olympics, and that was completely different. We stayed in a hotel. We didn't stay in the village, and we were pretty much isolated from everyone else. It was just like us and the girls team. We had one floor of the hotel, and that was pretty much it. We walked from there to practice and walked from there to competition, and that was it. So Tokyo felt more like a training camp than anything. But this one was the whole shebang. So it was really cool to, kind of soak that in. But honestly, this might be a hot take, but I kind of liked staying in a hotel a little bit better than I did in the Olympic Village, because there's so much going on at the Village.
Wow.
I mean, there's no quiet place in that whole space.
Are the cameras running around everywhere too?
No,
Or is it
not
pretty
really
close?
cameras. It's just people. I mean,
Yeah.
there's like thousands of athletes there, and everyone's on different schedules,
Yeah.
and so I mean, you've got people like, even if you got up super early, like 4 a.m, there's people up moving
Yeah.
around because they're getting ready to compete. But yeah, I mean, it was a really cool experience in that aspect of it, and I enjoyed. It's nice to be able to have both, I think, because
Yeah.
I've got my Tokyo experience and the Paris one.
What about family too?
How did you do in Tokyo?
So Tokyo was okay. I think we ended up finishing 5th as a team, which is not ideal, but I ended up making the high bar final, which high bar is my best event. So I made high bar finals, and I had a small little mess up, and I ended up 4th.
Gotcha.
Yeah, one little mess up. I think I probably would have ended up silver, something like that. But
Wow.
it is what it is. It's God's plan,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that you maybe, if I can remember right, you maybe had a fluff up at the Olympics this year and then came back and
son,
killed it.
yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, I had the worst meet of my
tell
life.
Us that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so day 1 of Paris Olympics, so prelims. I don't know, man. We started off on pommel horse, and I started off with a fall. It was a pretty tricky skill I fell on, but not really like me. And then I don't know, I couldn't really just get into my usual groove. So I had a pretty terrible meet. I mean, I ain't exaggerating. That was when I'm saying that's probably one of the worst meets of my life. But, I mean, part of being a good athlete is being able to put those kinds of things behind you and just reset and push forward. So, we had a day off in between prelims and team finals. So I took that day, went back. We went to the practice gym, worked out some kinks that I was having on prelims, and just kind of reset my mind a little bit. And I mean, team finals is a brand new day. None of the scores from prelims counted for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a clean slate, and that's just kind of what I kept telling myself. It doesn't matter what happened. I gotta put my head down and do the work today and make it happen.
Yeah.
I was thinking that this question is kind of maybe a little off topic, but it came to my mind in terms of Olympic preparation.
Yeah.
I would love to just go watch and see if it's like in my mind, I'm thinking of Olympians like morning routine to the hour, to the tea. We're drinking water here. We're getting electrolytes here. We're getting breakfast here.
You really want to know?
Yeah.
I
Let's
kind of
hear
want
it.
to know like a day in the life.
Oh man, well, it's about the same thing every single day, especially when you're getting close to a competition. I mean, I wake up and I have a whole bottle of water next to my bed waiting for me. Before I even get out of the bed, I sit up and I chug the whole bottle. And then, get up, get ready. I make my coffee. I'm up at 6 usually because we have practice at 9. And then, make my coffee. I'll sit and read a little bit. About 7, I'll fix my breakfast. And then, between 7:45 and 8 o'clock, I'm headed to the gym. Practice starts at 9, so I usually get there about 8:15, because I have this whole warm up routine before practice even starts. So I gotta roll out. I gotta use my lacrosse ball. I've gotta do all my stretches and stuff. Do a little bit of knee rehab, get the knee somewhat warm before we even start our normal warm up, and then practice. Depending on the day, it's gonna be anywhere from like on a light day, which is where we don't really do anything, it's going to be like 2 hours ish, to, a hard day where we're doing a lot of stuff. And I mean, it can be like 6 hours. So, it just really depends on where we're at in our cycle.
Mhm.
But I mean, it's nothing to go in there and stay for 6 hours working out. And then, after that, you get treatment from our athletic trainer, whatever's bugging you, or whatever's not bugging you. I mean, preventative treatment is a real thing for sure. And then, 3 days a week I did physical therapy for my knee. So I would, there were some days I would stay, I think one day, once or twice a week, I would stay in the gym and do PT. And then, once or twice a week, depending on where we were at, I would go, drive like 15, 20 minutes to IMG Academy. It's the high school over in Bradenton. And I would do some physical therapy there.
That's crazy. That's a famous school.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
football,
cool. Dude,
crazy.
that school's crazy. The gym.
It's a college, basically, huh?
It's better than a college. And I went to a good
It's a
college.
compound.
Yeah, you went to Stanford.
It's awesome. But yeah, so, adding PT on top of all that stuff, I would finish PT up around 3:30 and then, drive home. So I'm in the gym from 8 till I'm working out and doing stuff till about 3:30. Most days I would say. So, and then, I mean, the other things that go into it, I think things that people don't really understand about high level athletes is it's not just, okay, you wake up and you go to the gym and then you're done. It's every aspect of your life is encompassed by this goal.
Mhm.
So like I'm constantly keeping track of how much water I'm drinking,
Wow.
what food I'm having. I had pretty much the same meals every single day. I mean, I had the same breakfast every day, same lunch, and then dinner would vary a little bit, whether it's salmon or chicken.
Yeah,
Literally.
literally.
But I mean, how much water you're drinking, how many calories you're eating, how much protein you have, how much sleep you have. Sleep is a huge one. I mean, I went to sleep. I feel like I'm an old man. I didn't really go to sleep past 9 o'clock. I was asleep.
We've been
pretty
talking
early
a lot
most
about
nights.
sleep.
Yeah,
I've been
sleep
trying
is a great thing for recovery, and it's super, super important.
Yeah, it's crazy how different I feel getting actual good night's rest. Like the last month or so, I think like 26 days out of the last month, I've gotten a good night's rest, and I feel like a totally different person.
Oh yeah,
Which going into it, the kind of the question I wanted you to narrate that too, because it kind of fell off topic. But compared to the Olympics, some guys in every sport, when the moment the lights get bright, then we kind of kick it in gear.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if the Olympics, compared to your daily routine, normal, what you just described, compared to a daily routine at the Olympics, is it like even more to the T scheduled, especially with coaching and everything?
I would say it's a little bit harder when you travel to competitions because, I mean, you can stick to your schedule to a certain extent, but there's adjustments that you have to make because, I mean, you're away from home, you're not at home. And like, for example, our first day of competition, we were the first session. So we had to, I think I was awake at like 5:30 in the morning. And I was getting ready to go and we didn't compete until like 11. So you have to, redo your schedule, I guess, to what your schedule is going to be like there. So there's a little bit of an adjustment there. But as far as like coaching and stuff, I mean, we always travel with our personal coaches out there. So nothing really different from that aspect.
I would just imagine like how a nurse is in intensive care units in the hospital is kind of how I would picture an athlete at the Olympics, just constant treatment. Hey, just like, babying basically.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't even know if, that's just how I picture it though.
Yeah,
so you got done telling us about all this stuff you do, and then all I hear about is Olympic pay is shit. So,
right.
It doesn't pay great.
That's what I read. So, what the heck?
Yeah, I think.
Snoop Dogg, my man needs a raise.
Yeah,
give him some bonus money.
Come on, bro. Yeah, I think I might get these numbers wrong, but for a gold medal, you get like $37,500. For silver, it's like 22,000, and a bronze is 15,000.
So you rely like on sponsors, I'm guessing, and people that
yeah. So and also sponsors, which are hard to come by for the men, to be honest. But sponsors, and then our national team pays us a monthly stipend as long as you're a part of the national team. So as long as you maintain your status, I guess you get a payment from them. I mean, and it's not a lot. I mean, it's enough to live basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely don't do gymnastics for the money.
It's truly for the love of the game.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
We took a little detour. You said prelims, worst meet of your life. Kind of went here. We're making people stay. We're gonna make them stay to the end for the good stuff right here. I don't really understand the full like scoring structure, point structure.
Yeah,
you're doing all 6 events.
Yep.
Tell me how, just how to qualify, how to win. Or it's obviously solo. It's obviously team. Just kind of narrate.
Yeah. So everything you do in prelims qualifies you for all finals for the rest of the Olympics. So if you have a bad prelims like I did, then you don't qualify for any finals, and I didn't. So, but our team did well enough to qualify for team finals. So team finals was my last competition. So going into prelims, my goals were to make all around finals and high bar finals, and just didn't work out for me, I guess. But so yeah, the way that the team finals works is you have a team of 5, and you put 3 up on each event. So I competed every event except floor.
Really?
Yeah, and team finals. So, and then do you want me to explain like the scoring system?
I mean, you could go into that too.
Yeah, okay. So like scoring system, you have your base start. So it's like start value is your total start value, and they're different for everyone depending on what routines you do. And then you have your deductions. So basically you do all the skills and you get all the value for the skills. That's your start value. You add that up, and then the judges will take their deductions, and then you subtract that, and then that's your final score. So you start with 10-0, and then each you have 10 skills in each routine, and then with those 10 skills, you have to hit 4 element groups. So the element groups are basically just different types of skills.
Okay.
And you have to hit all 4 of those groups. It's not really a hard thing to do, but so you hit all those element groups. Those are worth 5/10 apiece. So basically your start value is at a 12.0. And then you add up the value of all the skills, and then that will come to, like, just say, for example, a 15.3. So 15.3 would be your start value. And then the judges, the whole routine, are taking deductions on your skills, and then they subtract that, and then that's your final score, say like a 13.7 or something like that.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you go through the routines. I guess what's the last routine? Because you're going and everybody's going in each event, right?
Yeah.
And then the last time you go, I'm sure USA is going for gold, silver, or bronze.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, kind of talk about the order of the events and then lead us up.
Yeah, so we started, in prelims, we started on pommel horse, but in team finals, we ended on pommel horse. And pommel horse is one of those it can be 50-50, you know. That's probably one of our hardest events, just because it's not really a strength event. It's more of a technique, and it's more like controlling your nerves. I compare it, like, to the women's side, I compare it to beam, just because, like, for beam, you don't really have to be super strong. It's more technique and, you know, being able to control yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of the same thing. So team finals, we started on rings, and we started super strong. Then the next event was vault. We ended up sticking 2 vaults. Paul Judo led us off, and then I went second, and I stuck my vault, which was awesome. And then you know, we went throughout the rest of the meet all the way through floor with no falls, which is really awesome. And then, you know, going into pommel horse, that's the one where, you can really let a meet go on pommel horse. So Paul was up first. He nailed his routine. I went up second, and I wouldn't say I nailed my routine, but I stayed on, and it was decent. So I landed, and I went crazy because we had hit, at that point, 17 routines, which is really hard to do in a team competition. You rarely see people hit all of their routines. And then last guy up, you guys probably know him, the pommel horse guy, Steven Netterosic.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen him.
I've seen that. Yep.
The glasses guy. Takes his glasses off. I think everyone's calling him Clark Kent. He's a Superman.
He looks like him.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, so he finishes the competition on pommels, nails his routine, and we just go crazy because, we made it a point to not look at the scoreboard throughout the whole meet to just try to, you know, focus on what we were doing. But when he hit, and we knew that we had hit 18 for 18 routines, that hardly ever happens. We knew we had won a medal pretty much. So we just went crazy. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I need to know.
All right.
Okay. This is what I'm saying. The people wanted to know. We had to make a wait for the end. You're sitting there. You're on pommel horse. This is your last time you're going to go for the whole entire Olympics.
Yep.
The country is like not on your back, but it's on 3 guys' backs for this event, for this medal. What is going through your mind as you're about to just hop on this pommel horse?
I mean, the same thing that's going through my mind at any competition. I think it's really important as an elite athlete to be able to, keep yourself in the moment and, control your mind. Because if you start thinking about the outcomes of what could happen, then you're taking yourself out of the present, and you start worrying about, am I going to mess up? Oh, I can't mess this up. And you start putting that kind of pressure on yourself. It never really ends up good. So, I mean, before I go on pommel horse, I'm just basically just going through my routine in my head, because at this point I've done it thousands of times and I know what it feels like. And I've hit a lot of my routines in practice, most of my routines in practice I was hitting. So, I like to tell myself, I mean, it doesn't really matter where you're at or what competition you're at. It's just another routine. It's the same thing I've done 1,000 times. So
yeah, I mean, it's another thing, easier said than done.
It definitely is. And it's very easy to let yourself get out of the moment and start thinking about things. But I mean, that's what I think separates, good athletes from, really high level elite ones, being able to do that. And it's a hard thing to do. And it's something that, I mean, I've definitely struggled with, but I feel like I've gotten the hang of it a little bit, pretty good, I think.
And that's what I think, people think that, oh, you were just born like that. I don't think that's the case a lot of times. It might be some, but I know me. I mean, I've struggled with it. It's a constant battle. I think, I think just like physical preparation, mental is just as important. I mean,
absolutely.
Mentally preparing yourself, because especially after the injury or whatever it is, I mean, it's not like it's easy. For me, at least. It might be different for you, but I think it's definitely something you have to keep focus on and work on.
Absolutely. And I mean, we say in gymnastics, it's 90% mental, 10% physical. I mean, people will watch gymnastics and be like, oh, those guys are in the best shape. They're super buff. But that's not it at all. I mean, it is a little bit. I mean, you got to be in good shape, but I mean, you got to mentally be there to be able to perform when the time comes like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, are there things, because you're not going to stay locked in mentally perfect every time. Do you have those things where, hey, I'm getting out of whack here, I'm kind of getting rattled? What are those things that you're like, okay, let me center back up?
Yeah, so, I mean, my dad kind of taught me this when I was younger and, coming up. He just said, and it's very simple, just short memory. So if I'm going through a competition and I mess up on my pommel horse routine, for example, and I know I've got 3 events left, I just got to forget about it. And it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, but you've got to be able to put it to the back of your mind and focus on what you've got to do next. So that's why for me, like when I'm going through a competition, no matter how I'm doing, good or bad, if you've ever watched me compete, I don't like to really celebrate that often. I mean, the Olympics, after I was done with pommel horse, that was kind of an exception. Yeah. But I'm pretty, stoic face, I would say. I don't really celebrate. I land my dismount, salute to the judge, and then immediately I'm thinking about the next event and what I have to do to get ready for it. So you've got to be able to just put yourself in that sort of mindset where, you come up, you do your job. If you don't do your job and it ends up going wrong, it doesn't matter. You've still got more to do. So you can't let the bad performance affect what could potentially be a great performance on the next event.
And I want to, because you rodeoed till you were 15, maybe a little 16. I don't know the exact age. So you get a glimpse into these guys' life. Like this is the crazy part. Is we're talking to you about mental game. You competing at the Olympics. This dude right here tonight, December 5th, is competing for it's not the Olympics, but it's his Olympics. It's his Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it's like and it's not just him. It's all events, bareback, saddle bronc, steer wrestling, team roping, calf roping, barrel racing. What do you see into the mental side of like the rodeo, the rodeo side of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, and you can draw this from any sport. I mean, if you want to be a high-level athlete, you've got to have the mental game. If you don't, then you're just not going to make it to a high level. So, I mean, I've been asked this question before, and I mean, gymnastics and rodeo are pretty different sports.
Yeah.
And, I've been, blessed enough to kind of grow up in both of them. And I mean, they have their differences, but I think the similarity is just the competing aspect and learning how to compete. And, how to have that mental mindset of, putting yourself in the zone, as people say. Like, you got to be able to turn it on just like that. And that's with any sport, whether it's gymnastics, rodeo, baseball, basketball, you've got to be able to just turn your brain on and make it happen when it has to happen. So yeah.
Preach. He said he's always got to be ready for the next event. How many times have we talked about that next calf? The next calf's the only one that matters. So pretty similar in that aspect. Obviously, completely different sports, but like you said, high level athletes, you got to be able to turn it on.
When you get to the biggest moments, again, I've never played sports on as highest level as y'all two, but I can see, like, I'm a videographer, I'm behind the scenes. You see it in people's eyes, man. Who's rattled, who's not, who's down, who's not, and it's just something that just amazes me every time of like, what is going through that guy's mind? Yeah. And does he even have a chance to win, or is he killing himself or ruining his chances before he even gets on the pommel horse? You know what I'm saying? And it's just fascinating to me. But I want to stay on a few last kind of question about the Olympics, I guess. Because we could keep talking about the Olympics for hours.
Oh yeah.
But leaving, getting the bronze medal, seeing the reaction, 18 for 18 rarely happens. What is the energy like with the team, and what is the, like, leaving the Olympics? Just describe all that to me.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it took a couple days, if not, a couple weeks, to really realize what had happened, for it to settle in, because, after we won the medal, we immediately got pulled into media, and we were just talking to media nonstop. I think we had like 2 hours of media the night of, and then, the next morning we immediately woke up and we had like a 12-hour media day, just constant stuff. So we really didn't have time to think about it. I mean, we were wearing our medals around the entire day, but so it was like, oh, what's this thing,
Yeah. Did you sleep in that thing for about a month?
No, it's a little heavy.
What changes after you win a bronze medal, an Olympic medal? What changes before and after?
I would say, I mean, you definitely get recognized a lot more in public, which I don't really know how I like that, or if I like that or not. But I mean, it was definitely weird, coming home, going through the airport, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, you're the guy, you're the pommel horse guy's teammate, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, Steven."
I also am pretty good at what I do too, but that's how you recognize.
No, it's all good, but yeah, so definitely being recognized a lot more. But other than that, not really much has changed. I mean, this is a lifelong goal that I've had for so long, but I think one thing that's really important for me that I realized, if I could just kind of sidebar a little bit and tell a story. So after Tokyo, after the Tokyo high bar finals, when I got fourth, I was pretty devastated. But later that year, I went to World Championships, which was actually back in Japan, and I competed. I made the high bar final there, and I actually did really well and won a bronze. Wow. And I remember sitting there, in the chair before we were going out for the awards, and I'm texting my dad, and he's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Are you happy?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Wrong color." I was pretty mad. Yeah. But so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I need a gold and I'll be happy, So the following year, 2022, I go back to World Championships and I end up winning gold on high bar. Oh. And again, I'm sitting there and I'm like I'm happy for myself, but I'm like, there's something missing inside, And it was at that moment I realized, and my dad helped me realize this too, that if you put your purpose and your mission and you try to find fulfillment and things like this, you're never going to be fulfilled. So I realized that you're only going to find your true fulfillment in Jesus. Mm-hmm. And so, going through this injury and, leading up to this Olympics and this Olympic medal, I really put, my purpose in life and like through gymnastics to like for God. And I was like, I'm doing this for God. And I will say, like, yeah, winning that Olympic medal was awesome, but I didn't do that for me. I did that to, shed light on what God has done in my life. And this is the example, this medal right here. And it's up through opportunities like this, doing podcasts and being able to reach people and tell my story. So I would say to anyone out there listening, like, I mean, you can chase a gold buckle all you want, but when you get it, if you don't have your heart in the right place and you're not doing it for the right reasons, you're going to be just as empty as if you didn't have it. So
Give me chills.
Yeah. So that's kind of the biggest life lesson I've learned that I want to, give to people to understand.
I think a common question and something, because I'm a Christian, and this is one thing that I'm curious your thoughts on. Sometimes, if I'm like, I'm doing this for the Lord, or you're like, I find all my fulfillment in the Lord, I almost don't even have the desire to do the thing anymore, whether it's whatever you're working towards. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate.
Oh, absolutely.
The two. It's like, I mean, I'm chasing this for just the Lord, but how do I even work hard? Because when you work hard, a lot of times then you want the glory, you want it to fill it up. It's hard to like have that equilibrium, that balance. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I mean, gymnastics it's a pretty individual sport. So it's very easy to be, self-consumed and want, I want to win this for me. I want to do this for me. So I think that was truly the biggest lesson that I learned. And because I now understand that and I find my fulfillment in this, I'm so much happier with this medal because I know the process I went through and, how my relationship with God transformed throughout my injury. And, it's easier to look back now and understand everything that I went through and how God was using it to transform me. But, going through it, I mean, I definitely had those instances of where like, oh yeah, I need to do this. And, that's the devil tempting you, you need to do this for yourself. Like this is for your glory. And I'm like, I always kept going back to, that instance laying on the floor about that peace and, putting that faith and trust in God to, put me in these situations. So for me, and this is going to be different for everyone, but after going through that and understanding that God was using my injury as something to glorify him, it was easier to go back and, just throughout that whole process, just put my head down and do the work. Cause I'm like, I got to do this for God.
Here's an interesting question too. Do you think having that mindset of like, I'm doing this for the Lord's glory and not my own, do you think that always leads to better success?
Well, I'm gonna say yes, and for the most part. But I mean, there's always gonna be those instances where, the Lord puts you in your place a little bit. And I think, I mean, I had a terrible day one competition. So, but I mean, it ended up working out really well.
Yeah.
And in the end. And I think, it was all because I, was putting my faith and trust in God and what he was doing for me.
Wow. So what's next for Brody Malone?
That's the question right there. Man, I don't really know yet. Serena and I are getting married over here. We're getting married in May. So that's kind of the number one thing on the docket right now.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. And then right now I'm trying to decide if I'm going to keep doing gymnastics or not. So
really,
yeah. After 4 more years, I think going to LA would be really cool, but 4 more years training on my knee I feel like it's going to hurt pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I got a lot of thinking and praying to do about it, and we'll see what happens.
28 years old by that time, you'll be in your prime still. You'll still be dialed.
I'll be in my prime, but I'll feel like I'm 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do they have you doing out here in Vegas? You just watching?
So yeah, I'm out here I'm presenting an award for the MMA awards tonight, and then tomorrow I'm gonna go over to, I think it's South Point, and watch a little bit of the World Series up there. And then I don't think I have tickets to rodeo. So
we gotta get that
sucks.
fixed.
What the
We
heck?
gotta get
Yeah.
that fixed.
I'd love to go watch.
Unacceptable.
We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk off pod.
All right.
We'll get it figured out. But man, if there's anything, I mean, you kind of already shared, your purpose, what you're doing this for, and so I think it'd be a good place to end. Unless you got anything else.
I know. Best of luck to you in the future. Thanks a lot for coming on, man.
Yes,
It's an
sir.
inspiration. I feel a lot more ready for tonight after talking to you. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. At least,
Yeah,
if that's
absolutely.
all that, I feel
Yeah.
better. A lot more at peace. So
Yeah, I mean, I feel better for him. You know what I'm saying? So appreciate the time, Brody.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
thanks a lot, man.